Okay, I'm going to get started. There's still a lot of people logging on, but I'll get started on the kind of housekeeping rules, and hopefully everyone will be joined by the time we properly kick off. First of all, thanks to everyone for joining us this morning. We're very excited for this webinar, Best of Both Worlds, How Event Creators Are Preparing for a Hybrid Future. So just a few quick housekeeping bits and pieces. So the webinar will be 1 hour in total. We're going to speak with our panel for about 45 minutes, and then I'm going to hand over to my colleague Sandra, who's going to talk you through some resources that we have available, plus give you a bit of a rundown on a new product feature we have called Boost, which is a very exciting marketing feature we've just added to our product. So looking forward to that. Due to the large volume of attendees today, we've had to turn live chat off, but we've lots of pre-submitted questions which we've kind of incorporated into the conversation. So hopefully all your queries will be answered. The session is being recorded, and a recording will be circulated afterwards. So if you miss anything, you will receive it all afterwards. You'll actually get an email with the recording and other resources in the next day or so. So everything will be in the one place. There'll also be a link within that pack to the Eventbrite Academy, and we'd really encourage you to follow that. It's where we keep all our webinars, and you'll also get updates on upcoming webinars if you're following that page. And finally, there will be a post-event survey. So we'd really love your honest feedback so we can keep these going, and keep them as good as we can possibly keep them. So I'm going to get started on an intro now. We still have people logging in, so welcome everyone. And yeah, let's get started because we've got lots to cover. So before I introduce you to the panel, I just wanted to give you a bit of a background on the idea for this webinar, for the title and for the topic. It came about really over the last few months as we've kind of started to see the old normal approaching again on the horizon. And we started to explore the definition of hybrid events because we saw that it was beginning to pop up on our platform quite a lot, in various different ways. I guess in its truest form, the definition of a hybrid event is an event that has a virtual and live component happening at the same time. That's kind of the kind of literal definition. But as the world starts reopening, I think people are beginning to talk about hybrid events in a slightly different way. So a lot of organizers, for example, are kind of having a hybrid event program where they might have live events and virtual events, not necessarily running at the same time, but part of the same program. So it's a really interesting concept to explore at the moment. And obviously both formats are so important in their own ways. I think throughout the pandemic, virtual events really kind of obviously rose to the surface. They were really the only option. And they provided an escape for attendees. I think for a lot of people, they were a chance to kind of leave the confines of wherever they were staying at home and feel part of something bigger and feel part of a community again. And then as the world, I suppose, is opening back up, a lot of people who've had access to those virtual events won't be able to attend the live equivalents for whatever reason. They might just not be in that country. So I suppose that's got people thinking differently about a hybrid model. And I think, you know, how does the industry respond to that? Like, how do we allow those people to still have access to those communities and those live experiences that they've gotten so used to over the last 15 or so months? And how do we merge the old with the new and the live with the virtual? And I guess ultimately, how do we find that sweet spot that really is the best of both worlds, that really is kind of the merging of the accessibility and convenience of a virtual event with the real-time connection and spontaneity of a real-life event? And we really wanted to explore this. So there's no better way to do that than to speak with a panel of event creators who are themselves at the moment literally navigating this new world. And it's a world that will likely involve both live and virtual components, either simultaneously or at different stages. So I'm going to hand it over to them now. I'm going to ask them to come off mute and turn their cameras on. And I'm really looking forward to this conversation. So on the panel this morning, we have James Sills of Sofa Singers. We have Natalie Jackson of APL Media, and we have Adam Amhama of Pause in Work. Three very, very different kind of event creators and very different types of events that they run. So there's going to be a really good variety, I think, today. And let's just kick it off and get started with some kind of intros. I think it would be great for the three of you guys just to give a bit of background on the events that you run, and I suppose specifically how the pandemic has impacted them, or in James's case, actually kind of led to the creation of them. So actually, let's start with you, James, because I think that's a good place to start.
Yeah, thanks, Amy. Hiya, I'm a musician and a singing leader, and so pre-pandemic, I was running 4 or 5 weekly choirs, running singing workshops, getting people in the same space to sing. and to experience that joy of communal singing. And when lockdown happened, it was obvious that not only could we not come together, but it was going to be a long time before we could actually get together in the room and sing, and that's still the case, at least in the UK. So I created the Sofa Singers as a one-off initially to come together over Zoom, where I would lead a song, everybody would remain on mute, but we could see each other and have a shared moment, like a Netflix watch party, but everyone's singing at the same time. And tomorrow is our 130th session. We've done 2 a week. The community is really large. We're reaching probably about 600-700 people a week across the world, and it's at the heart of it is kind of connection and joy, and using song to facilitate that. And so it's a COVID native event, and so I'm now thinking about how this might manifest itself in a kind of a physical in-person form. When we're able to come together to sing in the room together.
Amazing. Thanks, James. Adam, do you want to go next?
Yeah, absolutely. So Pause in Work, we are the UK's first fully licensed puppy therapy specialist. So essentially, pre-pandemic, what we did and what we were most well known for are our puppy therapy events, where we bring litters of pups to workplaces. There's a dual purpose to our events. So we're all about well-being in the workplace and offering a break for 25 minutes to escape the daily stresses of life. And we kind of mix that in with the socialization of puppies before they go into their forever home. So our events are they're creative and fun, but they're also very educational when we do come down, and they spread a wider message, which is our kind of mission statement, to create a better life for people and pups. So pandemic kind of struck March 2020, and we weren't able to do any live events. So that's pretty much every part of our business that we previously had struck off. So we had to find a way of developing that and making it virtual. And I know we'll go into a bit more detail as to how we do that, but the whole kind of period of the pandemic has forced us to see how we can bring that experience to people online, as well as incorporate the educational aspect. So we've kind of developed our products. We've launched kind of mental health training services, well-being workshops, and other initiatives to help companies that we would previously do our events with at the same time.
Amazing. Thank you. Natalie?
Hi everyone. Yes, so I'm Natalie, and I run the events department at APL Media. We are media specialists. We specialise in creating content for consumer and trade. The events department actually started about 7 years ago.
We were just saying earlier, it's pity that Adam doesn't have, just puppies like everywhere in the background, but there's one at least on the call.
I thought that might happen. I was worried.
No worries.
Yes, so we create content, and the events department started around 7 years ago. We have been putting on events small to big, from festivals, award ceremonies, masterclasses, exhibitions, and one of our biggest things that we've now moved virtual is something called Travel Geeks. So most of our clients are travel-related clients. We produce the National Geographic Traveller magazine, and most of our events are for the National Geographic Traveller readers. So of course in March, the same like Adam said, in March, suddenly it was like, okay, hold on a minute, I work in events and travel. What are we going to do? It's like, okay, panic stations. Who knew that we would get to this point now in terms of our events? Because of course we have moved pretty much all of our events now to a virtual platform, including our award ceremonies. It's been a huge challenge, but it's also brought massive benefits, which of course we're going to talk about more very soon.
Definitely. Thanks so much, guys. Okay, so I think what's going to be really interesting for everyone who's dialed in this morning is to kind of know what the plan is for the next 12 months. And I know it's really hard to answer that question because, we don't even know what's going to happen on June 21st at this stage. But as best as you can, I suppose, could you kind of give an idea of how you see live events and virtual events complementing each other in the next year, and how they'll kind of exist alongside each other? Like, for example, Natalie, I know there was a recent National Geographic event that you ran, I think, where there was, I think it was filmed, wasn't it, a live discussion in a studio, but it was obviously live streamed. Like, the addition of a live audience would literally make that a hybrid experience. So maybe we'll start with you, Natalie, how you can kind of see those kind of elements merging.
Absolutely. So we've spoken to our clients. So of course, most of our events, we have them sponsored. So it's very much about having to really shift how we sell to our clients in the first place, apart from just the consumer as well. So that's been a massive challenge. But what our clients are looking for is, promoting destinations, etc. So it's a case of thinking from it from that point of view. So we recently, like you say, Amy, we did this wonderful event with Ollie Smith on wine tasting, but rather than it being in a virtual situation like we are today, all in our different homes, we took it to a studio. So we were able, within the COVID compliant restrictions, create a COVID compliant studio environment where we then at least had the panel together. So therefore, in terms of hybrid, I suppose it's sort of bordering on that idea. So the panel is together, so you've got that great interaction. We were able to share, they were drinking wine, but obviously it was all, their own tables, own pouring, that kind of thing. But it was to a virtual audience, which was massive. I think that's something we're definitely going to pursue more. So the idea of actually having the hybrid with the studio audience eventually, we're not there yet. We're looking into it. In fact, I've got a meeting this afternoon with a new venue to look at the possibility. But the idea of bringing a group together who are the content together, at least be able to bring them together to broadcast out or what have you, or virtually. So definitely that's definitely something that we seem to be aiming towards, and the clients love that.
That's a great merging of the real life experience with the kind of live streaming. Adam, you had an event, I think around Christmas time, where it was online, but it maybe could have kind of like straddled the two.
Yeah, I mean, we've kind of done a couple of different things, very similar actually to Natalie, in terms of launching our virtual puppy therapy events, which essentially consists of a full day of wellbeing activities mixed in with 360-degree puppy therapy. So you're almost immersed in that setup at the same time. The event that I think you're talking about around Christmas was a pop-up event. So we were in and out of restrictions, lockdowns, tier 3, 4, and so on, kind of all sorts of bits over the last year. But we were able to launch an event where previously we would only go to one office and one space and just do an event for one company, and instead be able to invite smaller groups of people to an event in kind of smaller groups. So we were able to do that live and in person at the time. However, in terms of the virtual aspect, we've done the same thing in terms of being able to stream that. So we can do that from an office space, have our events or have our wellbeing sessions running and streaming live to companies. We tend to work B2B. So our clients are mainly businesses that we work with, so it can stream out to all of their employees, and we'll run kind of creative sessions, wellbeing workshops, as well as the 360 kind of puppy sessions at the same time. Over the next 12 months, the way that we see that changing, there will definitely be an element of flexibility that companies will want as part of all of these sessions. It will be slightly different going to direct to consumer, and I'm sure there'll be other kind of people will be able to recommend different things. But for us and our clients, we just want to be able to make sure that we can run our events in whatever way works for them. So if they have 50% of the company working from home and 50% in the office, we need to have the ability to run our events in an office and be able to stream that event out to the rest of the people who aren't there on the day. So for us, it's all about just being kind of moldable, I guess, in that same time. And what we've been able to do over the last year is build our services in a way where whatever your kind of request is or whatever you need, we can facilitate by just playing around with how we offer that. So yeah, over the next 12 months, we'll continue our virtual offering, and we're just going to be very flexible with the needs of our clients in terms of changing our events and how they potentially run.
Sounds great. James, what's the future for Sofa Singers?
Well, I mean, a few months ago, I said I said very clearly, look, Sofa Singers, we started as a response to lockdown. It was very much responding to a need of lockdown for community and connection. But what we've come to realise is that actually it's very much its own community, its own thing, and it's reaching people for whom they might have been already isolated or not able to engage in in-person singing. We have the whole global aspect, and so the priority in the short term is just to keep developing and nurturing that community and delivering our sessions twice a week and just bringing more people into that space. But the kind of medium to long-term goal is to complement that with in-person events where we want to capture that same spirit of community and joy by bringing people together. So I think initially we'd probably look to do maybe 1 or 2 big events in the UK because it is a global community, but about 2/3 based in the UK. So perhaps doing a big event maybe in Manchester and London where we have several hundred people in the room, and it'll be in like a theatre or a nightclub. It won't be a kind of a formal kind of choir setting. That's not what we're about. And there'll be myself on stage with my guitar and other members of the team, but basically the people in front of us will be forming the choir, the singers, and then the idea that we'd then have people, from the 70 plus countries that join us each week, there in some digital form, perhaps on the screens participating, but also have input from the online community into that event. So, for example, we have an open mic section each week where people share their songs and stories, and if they were then able to bring that into the in-person events, and then we have people also performing that live as well, would hopefully reach that sweet spot. So yeah, initially it would be to do events in the UK, but we would love to go to every country where there are sofa singers. They might be smaller scale events, but we'd love to, we'd love to kind of capture this on film, maybe create a kind of a, like a documentary where we're traveling around. We've had an open invitation to Ethiopia to meet some of our sofa singers there, and so just, it feels like there's lots of possibilities, but the priority for now is to keep deepening the community with our online events twice a week, and then start to move to some big scale, in-person events. But I should also say that the in-person events, I don't see that, and we don't see that at Sofa Singers as better or more valid. Like the online experience, we have come to realise, is very much valid in itself. And then the live shows will then just add another layer to that for those people who are able to access that in person.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think no one realised how powerful virtual events could actually be until we were forced to do them, exclusively.
Right.
And I think, the global element is the obvious one, that people can dial in from everywhere. But I do think it's that sense of like, maybe isolation and loneliness that some people feel, and just being able to like turn on a screen and suddenly they have all these people there to engage with. It's quite incredible. So yeah, I think you're right. It's, it's merging the two as opposed to kind of like letting one take a back seat. I think a question that came through a lot from the pre-submitted questions was around the platforms that you use, because obviously to make this seamless experience worthwhile for the people attending, it has to be, it has to kind of satisfy the person sitting at home as much as it does the person sitting at the live event. So can you talk us through the platforms that you're using, literally like what platforms you use, and I suppose to you what the kind of key features are that make that a good platform for a virtual experience? What could be better? Like if you had a wish list of things that you could kind of incorporate into an online platform, what would they be? And any kind of related costs or any kind of related kind of tech issues that you could kind of talk about as well. I think that would be super interesting. Might just start with you actually, James, if that's okay.
Sure, yeah. So we use Zoom for our weekly sessions, and which feels very democratic. Everyone can access it for free, and it's really important, whatever platform we use going forward for the hybrid events, that the people who are engaging digitally, that there's an element that it can be active. I don't want it to be a completely passive experience. So obviously things like the chat function, able to relay things, perhaps via Twitter or other social media that I can then engage with on stage as well. But yeah, we're quite far from the point of actually putting a live event and then, and then getting the live stream on. But for me, it's perhaps less about the platform, but it's more, that you can have real engagement, because what I don't want the sense of when we get to doing live events is that the real experience is in the room and everybody at home is just slightly passive. Yeah. I want, and with our weekly events on Zoom, it is very, very active because people can obviously input into the open mic. We have the chat function. People can see each other. That's really important. So I think we would definitely need to remain elements of that when we match that up with the in-person events as well.
Cool. Adam, what do you guys use?
So not too dissimilar actually, and it really depends on what service we're running. I think I completely agree with the experience on Zoom, being able to see people on camera. There's so much more personability to that experience. We run some of our kind of mental health training and workshops via Zoom because we need to when you're kind of approaching delicate issues, or when you really need to get feedback from your audience to ensure that their experience is the best it can be. We use Zoom for that. When we're running our live virtual puppy therapy events / wellbeing days, it's much more like a TV type experience, because those sessions are all also available for people on demand for 30 days afterwards. So we use Vimeo live stream for that. It's a really, really professional platform, but it's not too bad in terms of the price range for people if you are kind of a sole trader or if you're just starting out. There's an initial outlay of probably just over £1,000. I can't remember the exact figure. But if you're running events full time online, you will get a good return of investment. we can live stream our events with kind of good quality cameras via Vimeo live stream, and we can invite other people into that live stream to also participate as well and broadcast that out. The interesting thing that we had to do, because there was no platform that gave us the experience that we wanted in terms of a kind of landing page, which was really bespoke and really Pause in Work branded and all about us, to actually access the event. It was all very much like you log into Vimeo and then you're seeing our session. So it's all centered around Vimeo. What we did is create a new page on our website, which is like the online event page for people. Not too dissimilar to Eventbrite, but they can actually access the videos or the live stream through our website. So we're then in control of the branding and the experience that the users get in the build up to actually accessing the event. And it's like you're going through the Pause in Work hub, then seeing our session, and you very much don't really see Vimeo or anything else until you're into the session itself. So that's the thing that we've done. And we obviously use Eventbrite for most of our kind of mental health training courses and actually to promote our events, because we found that that's one of the best ways for us to be able to get people on there and also to engage with our community afterwards. James has kind of mentioned the community so many times, and that's the biggest thing that's most important thing for us over the last year has been our community and being able to broadcast them and let them know what we're running.
Great, thank you. Natalie.
Yeah, I mean, we use Zoom as well, mostly Zoom. I mean, we did, at the beginning, we sort of did look into all the different platforms, thinking we could try this, we could try that. Some of them are quite complex, you know, that you can have various clients and you can click on this and click on that and go into these breakout rooms and stuff like that. And actually we found that it might have been a bit much. I mean, it might be suitable for some people, for us it wasn't quite right. So obviously we've been trying to sort of over the last year and whatever it is now, 15 months, develop how we engage with people. So yes, we mostly use Zoom. Obviously it's hugely cost effective because a venue, you know, can be anything from $2 grand to 50 grand, you know, so obviously we're cutting out massive costs. So that's been fantastic, but obviously we've got to balance that out with the fact that people aren't together. So therefore we're looking at ways to make sure that they engage. And I think James mentioned about, you know, the chat function, things like that. So we've been really creative with our sort of working with how to engage people. One of the things we do, for example, is we have surveys that go out, but we turn it into a competition. So therefore, people can win things if they enter the survey. But the survey's right at the end of the chat, you know, at the end of the event, to keep people on. You know, it's actually fascinating to watch people chat because they're from all over the world. Our viewers, readers. I'm so used to saying readers, but now I'm saying viewers. You know, they're from all over the world. So people are like getting, you know, they're probably like making friends. I mean, it's quite wonderful, really. But yeah, it's very cost effective. I mean, we're talking hundreds of pounds compared to thousands. You know, a massive difference when you use something like Zoom. Not that this is like a Zoom advert, but you know what I mean. There are plenty of other things out there, but it does work. And of course, we use Eventbrite to get everybody registered. And most of our events are free registration. But I just wanted to add in that we've also added on a VIP experience to our events. And the difference is we take it from a webinar like we have here to a meeting, a Zoom meeting where you have all the people on camera. So like James was saying, having that, you know, sort of face-to-face time. So we would do the event for 45 minutes, 50 minutes or so, and then a VIP paid for event where the people can then, they log into the next Zoom link, which is a meeting rather, their cameras are on, and then they can ask direct questions to our fantastic panel or whoever we're working with. So there are ways that we've developed over, I'd say 15 months to use the platforms that we're using to get the best out of them.
It's interesting, isn't it, how being able to see each other really gives that extra level of connection and engagement. And it's interesting that we're finding this kind of across the board, really. Because when we started doing Sofa Singers, we did like a live stream from the Zoom room just to a YouTube thing. And in the end, I stopped that just because I felt you were kind of playing to two different rooms. And also it kind of felt like the people who were just watching a stream of me rather than being able to see everybody and feel part of it were somehow missing out. So it's interesting, those things that we've discovered over the last year, isn't it?
Yeah. It's happened as well with our virtual events. The first virtual puppy therapy / like wellbeing event, we pretty much just broadcasted speakers for their sessions direct to the audience. So there was no feedback from people. And even just having someone else in the room to bounce off creates a completely different experience for the user as well. So even just thinking about, if you don't have the direct contact with your audience, having someone else to go off, the audience still feed off that energy. So there's
Definitely,
different
yeah.
ways that you can do it, even if you're not speaking directly to the audience, because sometimes you'll have thousands of people on and you can't see thousands of people on camera, but you can still mimic some of that experience with people in the room. So it's about being creative with your setup that you're in, as well as the way that you're broadcasting out.
Because you're not getting the energy back from the people in the room that you would do in an event.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
something I found very early on. So I kind of have a co-host, kind of co-leader in the sessions who we kind of bounce off each other, so there's that energy and people feel part of something bigger as well. If it's, if you've got that kind of dynamic of other people, yeah, that's something we found as well, for sure.
But I think the beauty also of using these platforms is you can be a bit anonymous if you want to be.
Exactly.
So, so if you're like, a lot of our events are in the evenings, well, they're mostly in the evenings, and if you're having your dinner, you don't necessarily want to be sitting there, sort of chewing through your dinner whilst you're on camera. So you can just turn your camera off, so you can still attend something, but anonymously, and actually some people like that. They actually would rather, it's easier. Sometimes people feel a bit, do I want to go on my own to something or what have you? I mean, it's the whole idea of taking something virtual. It's just so inclusive. It's so inclusive, as well as people who are unable, people who are, so as I say, some people are really intimidated about walking into a room full of people. I don't know if you guys have found that, but going into a music, a theatre on their own, people feel I'm on my own and stuff. But you can do this on your own because no one's going to know you're on your own. It doesn't matter.
And
So
that,
it opens it up, isn't it?
And in
Yeah.
particular, in relation to what I'm doing with my singing work, I mean, that's obviously something that I meet all the time, is that people are so reticent to sing in person. And so the anonymity of having the kind of the mute button and being able to really sing out and, be taken through all some kind of singing techniques and breathing techniques, but essentially no one will hear you, I think people find quite liberating. But what you're saying about going, not having your camera on, often when people join for the first few weeks, they don't even have their camera on, and then they say, I've got the confidence just to turn my camera on now. And so there's those extra levels of engagement. And then I guess if we're talking about the hybrid events, the next level of kind of confidence and engagement would actually to be in a room to actually sing and your voice be heard by other people. So it's almost like, people have these kind of different option points because of the virtual and the hybrid experience as to how much they really want to engage with it.
Yeah.
James, have you ever had anyone to start singing when they didn't realise they weren't muted and they were like, oh, sorry?
No, well, I'm very strict about it, actually, because people are kind of, so at first I used to joke like, oh, I'm just going to unmute you all, and and that's not what people want at all. But what we actually do once we've had the final kind of sing through with several hundred people all singing the song, I then press unmute, and some people are cheering, some people are still singing, so it sounds like the pub at kicking out time, but with 500 people, and that's really nice because you get to hear everyone's voice, you get a sense of all those people, but there isn't ever a moment where we're kind of spotlighting people. That's not how it works. Now I'm always very, very clear about that, because I think people wouldn't turn up if they thought that was going to happen.
Yeah. I think removing that layer of self-consciousness is a huge kind of appeal of these virtual events. I mean, like ultimately, like technology has allowed the most incredible connection for the last 15 months. Like without it, I don't know how people would have survived. But I think with that comes, obviously tech issues. And one question that came through from a couple of people was around kind of, tech disasters on the day. And I know, Natalie, we've spoken about this one already, but like there can be hiccups with tech involved. We've had it ourselves with our own events. Any examples from you guys of just a virtual event that went so wrong, and how did you fix it? You can put your hands up for the first one here, because I'm not sure.
Well, apart from my dog just barking here, and it's not again, definitely not again. But no, I mean, we thank goodness we haven't had any disasters, but we've definitely got a lot of feedback from people to say what would be better. Like for example, how to do it better. So on the tech side of things. So for example, I mean, you're always going to get people that can't find the link. That's the sort of thing I would do. Can't find the link, can't hear anything, and you realise it's all their own fault. I mean, in the nicest way possible. It's generally not the organisers. It's usually the consumer, the attendee who hasn't quite done it right, usually. But we always have someone on hand that they can email, and then we can sort them out, sort of thing. But I mean, it's a scary thing, the techie side of things, because it's obviously something, again, we're not used to doing. If I'm doing a big award ceremony, I've got a whole team of technology, tech people, technicians, who are like sitting behind their black screen. I don't have to press any buttons. So suddenly I'm pressing all these buttons. And then we did have recently when, I'm trying everything from sticking masking tape and using a credit card to cover my camera, all sorts of things, sellotape and everything, blue tack, so you can sort of like add images. What we do is so if we had like me now, I'd cover my camera and you'd share the screen, so you've got lovely images. But you know, the amount of things we've tried sticking to the screen, they fall off, you have to try again. Suddenly, you know, you press the wrong button and they can see, you know, sort of from a terrible angle up your face. You know, there's lots of things. It's very scary, the tech side, but it can be done. You know, we can do this. You know, at the end of the day, we have all really learned so much in this last year about how to, you know, from a technology point of view, and especially the sort of more senior people, more senior attendees who, I mean, our age range is massive, but our most recent event we did a survey to see the age range, and it was 55 plus, which was quite interesting. I think it was because it was about South Australia. So they're the kind of people that maybe have the capacity to go. But, you know, you do have to bear that in mind. If you're going to be, you know, tailoring your event to people in their 20, you know, Generation Z or whatever it is, or millennials, you know, they're more likely to be tech savvy. But if you're going to be dealing with a more mature attendee, you're going to have to make it very straightforward how to use it. Even things like the chat room, they might find that really difficult. I'm really generalizing. There's plenty of brilliantly techie people out there who are more mature, what have you. But you do have to bear that in mind in terms of who you're speaking to how they can use the technology, as well as how the back office use the technology. But it's been scary times.
We've all learned a lot, I think, in the last year. We've all become kind of more tech savvy. Any disasters for you guys, James and Adam?
I don't think we've had a massive disaster in terms of an actual event. And to be honest, that's because we're more scared of things running wrong than I think anyone. So we literally have backup plan 2, 3, 4, 5, what ifs and so on. But we did have one where we ran a LinkedIn Live, which was part of the marketing for our event. So we scheduled it to go out at a certain time. I believe it was 1:30 p.m. on a Thursday, Friday. And this was supposed to be a behind the scenes shot of our puppy therapy session. So it's getting people excited, seeing the pups, explaining all about us, and then part of the marketing, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a bit. The Wi-Fi in the venue that we had just was not cooperating. And that's one of our biggest fears. So we usually have backup Wi-Fi and 3G boosters, 4G boosters, all the rest of it. So our events can run no matter what. But this particular venue, we didn't have any of that available, and it was just a LinkedIn Live. So we thought it'd be really easy to just go straight out. Wasn't working at all. Spent about 10, 15 minutes trying to get it working. Wasn't happening. But what we were able to do was record a video as if it was live. And then, I probably shouldn't even be saying this to people watching now. It's ruined the experience for everyone. But we were able to record it, upload that to our Mac, and then stream that live. And the way we were able to do that was using the Vimeo live stream service that we had previously. So although we use that just for our events, it's helped us massively in terms of just the flexibility of using it on other platforms as well. So it was being slightly creative in how we did that. And then we just responded to comments live as they were coming in on the video. So that wasn't running live, we were responding live. So the experience was still there for people, and it still worked. But it's just, I guess, thinking on your feet, that's probably been the worst thing out of everything that's happened. But
you got to be on your toes at all times. How about you, James? I mean, you've been exclusively online, so I'm sure you've got a few stories.
Well, yeah, I mean, there haven't been, as yet, touch wood, there haven't been any massive disasters other than it being a bit glitchy or, you know, my mic needing tweaking. Like, I still start up every Zoom session and I just wait for the participants just to stay on one and think, yeah, where is everybody? And a lot of that is like what Natalie said about making sure everything in terms of sending out the links is all just kind of watertight. And after the very first session I did, I was literally doing everything. I was like letting people in the room. I was posting the links. I was like responding to messages saying I haven't got my link, and trying to deliver a song and a session. And so I realized like straight away that I needed people around me. And so I've got an amazing team who do all that stuff, which means I can really focus on engaging with people, with delivering the song, delivering the best session possible, and you know they're just doing a brilliant job answering questions, and things have developed. In terms of our audience, we have a lot of people who are visually impaired or blind, and so a lot of the time when people are sharing in the open mic, we'll be describing visually things that that we can see. We'll have written descriptions in the chat. So we're really about supporting the people that we have and finding the best ways we can engage with those people. The main now this actually wasn't a Sofa Singers session, but it was kind of like a corporate wellbeing session I was doing. For some reason the setup didn't allow my video to go on because they'd set up the session, and so I was doing this. It was just like doing it over the radio. So it was this whole thing about, well, how do I engage people? A bit like when the live stream didn't work with Adam. How can I engage people where we can't even see each other? So there's like 50 people on this session and we're all learning a song and I can't hear them, I can't see them, but how can we still, make a connection? And again, using the chat function and throwing things out there and making it quite light and quite fun, we got there. So, there's always kind of workarounds, I guess. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you do definitely get much quicker at kind of coming up with those workarounds, I think, when you're on the spot.
And you know what, people are sympathetic as well, I think.
Totally.
I think it would be different if it's like a big, kind of, if I was like watching a live stream gig, and there's a big investment, and there's obviously a big kind of production around it, you might be perhaps less understanding. But if it's obviously, something where you're on a platform like Zoom and it's kind of smaller scale or whatever, I think, people are generally sympathetic as well.
Absolutely. It's like we've all been there. So I think.
Yeah, exactly. We've all experienced it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you just need to own it. So when something goes wrong, you just have to say, sorry guys, this is
be honest.
Live, 2021, this is how it is. And you just own it. Most people will laugh it off, hopefully.
Yeah, that's it. Most people will get it. Adam, you just mentioned this a few minutes ago, and it's something I really wanted to ask actually before we run out of time. It's around marketing. So marketing to a virtual audience and to, attendees who will be attending a live experience. That's a really different way of getting across messaging. It's very, there's very different ways to reach those people and different ways to speak with them. Natalie and Adam, you guys have obviously done a lot of kind of marketing for live events. Can you kind of give an idea of what the main differences are when you are marketing to the different types of events? And then James, I'd love to hear just overall how you've been marketing for the Sofa Singers events, because they've been so massively successful.
Yeah. I mean, for us, we've just had to meet the demands of clients. I think I mentioned it kind of earlier on, but the way that we're marketing our virtual experiences to solve the problem that businesses are having with their employees in terms of being able to offer them well-being services whilst they're now not in the office. And it comes down to a lot of things that we've already mentioned. Some people not wanting to be on camera. Some people are homeschooling their children at the moment, so they can't have mics on and cameras on. There's so many different things which have popped up as obstacles over the last year. So all of our marketing around our virtual has been about solving those problems for people. And I think the good thing about the last year is that creatives especially, and there'll be a lot of people on this call who are creatives, have been able to come up with unbelievable ideas like Sofa Singers to meet a demand which we didn't even know existed, or to answer a solution which we didn't even know we had a problem in the first place, but it's come up during the pandemic. So for us, I mean, our live events, they're all about the experience. And what we were able to do since kind of 2019 was build a really nice, tight-knit community and people that we work with and we've got a good working relationship with, as well as those who have inquired into events previously and maybe not been able to do it, but love the idea and the concept of puppy therapy, in the same way that they'll love kind of different ideas and concepts. And so what we've been able to do is then turn that around and say, well, we can bring this to you in a different format and also answer this, and this, all these problems that you've had with people working from home, people not wanting to join live and wanting to watch a session on demand. The on demand as a kind of tip for people has been one of the biggest selling points for us. The fact that people can tune into our sessions if they've missed it, or if something happens, i.e. they're on a live stream and then they have to run off because the postman comes or because something else happens and they now miss half their session. Being able to catch up on that afterwards has been the biggest selling point for us in terms of our virtual events. So again, it comes down to being flexible and just being able to say, whatever your issues are, we'll solve them.
Yeah. So messaging is really important for you when you're marketing for virtual events. It's getting those kind of pain points right and then communicating that really, really powerfully. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Natalie,
our marketing hasn't really changed that much from when we were doing live events. We still find that the best way to get the messages out there is obviously online, digital advertising, whether it be newsletters that go through our database or on social media, etc. But I think what's important to recognise from an event organiser point of view is your budgets. So obviously, our clients will not spend the same sort of money as they will for a live event at the moment. Whether that will change one day, I don't know. But we've had to reduce significantly how much we charge our clients. So therefore, that's going to affect our marketing spend. So we have to tailor it towards that as well. Of course, our costs are reduced, but it doesn't quite balance out how we would like it to. And I'm sure people watching will have similar experiences if they have sponsored events. Yeah, so the marketing hasn't really changed in terms of, you know, the platforms that we use, whether it's through Eventbrite or whether we use advertising in print, online, etc. Of course, the beauty of having a larger audience for events is we're increasing our database. So our database is massively increasing. And that's been really fantastic because we've been able to reach so many people coming to events. Like we've had 3,000 people register to one of our most recent Travel Geeks events. You know, so that's, if they've opted in, that's a huge amount of people for a database. So that's helped with marketing for sure. So that's been a bit of a snowball effect. And of course, we can contact all our previous attendees through Eventbrite. You've got that fantastic way of doing that straight afterwards. But really, the messages have stayed the same, the platforms have stayed the same, but the budgets have changed. So we just have to be mindful of that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's great.
Can I just to add a really small point as well with the marketing, and there will be a lot of people who are just starting out with virtual events. They might be freelancers or people who are yoga instructors we've worked with on some of our events, or personal trainers who are now launching online. Collect the data as soon as you start. Give people an option for a newsletter. Even if you don't have a newsletter at the moment, give people the option to actually share their details so you can have that saved for later down the line. I think a lot of people miss that to begin with, but eventually it will pay dividends with you being able to market. And that's exactly what we were able to do. We had all this data going back from 2019. And when it came to the virtual, we already had a market there to go out to. So do that straight from the off.
Great advice.
Yeah, I would echo so much of what's just been said. So yeah, messaging has been really, really important for me to manage people's expectations. If people call Sofa Singers a virtual choir, I gently tell them it's not that, because we see these virtual choir videos with everyone's face, and it all sounds like everyone's singing together as a choir. And that isn't what we do. That's impossible to do over Zoom, and it's not actually about that. So I'm very explicit about the Sofa Singers, saying it's kind of part sing along, part house party, part choir rehearsal. It's not about creating this big sound or as you would do in the room together. So it's kind of managing expectations, I think, is really important. We do a weekly newsletter, so we have pop-up forms on the website, and so we have a weekly newsletter that goes out to thousands of people, where we include things from the community, so things that people have shared in the open mic, whether it's songs or recipes or artwork. So there's that kind of community feel in the newsletter, as well as telling them what events coming up that week. And what Adam was saying about kind of watching on demand and catch up, that's been really, really important for our members club. So kind of the way it works with Sofa Singers is that you can engage with the weekly sessions for free, but we do then have a members club, of which we have several hundred members now, and that means that you get access to watching the sessions on catch up, and there's extra kind of sessions just for the members, where we have breakout rooms, so that kind of level of intimacy and connection deepens even more. And so that for us has worked really, really, really well as a model. And in terms of our marketing, I mean, we were really lucky. Like in the first couple of months of the pandemic, we had coverage on the BBC, on ABC, NBC in the States, a whole raft of newspaper articles. It was amazing. So that has really extended our reach. The main thing we've used our marketing budget was to create a film to celebrate our first anniversary, which is up on YouTube, and people submitted just short videos of them talking about Sofa Singers, how they engage with it, and we just tried to include as many people from the different corners of the world and the different demographics that engage with Sofa Singers as possible. So there's like a little 3-minute film, which for me has been just the most rewarding thing to do in terms of our marketing, because it's like a little window into why people love it so much, that just looking at a screen of people singing on mute can't capture.
Absolutely, it's a brilliant video. Actually, I've seen it. It's the ultimate user-generated content. Like it's the ultimate UGC way of marketing. And just kind of to kind of close the marketing section, we had our last webinar. We had an Australian creator. It was a tips from down under. So the Australian creator was giving advice to our UK creators. I'm sure some people on this one were listening, but one really interesting point he made was that as Australia reopened and as live events became the norm again, marketing budgets were actually slashed, because people didn't need to market as much anymore. Like attendees were so excited to go back to live events that they actually didn't need to be marketed to. They were sold. They just wanted to buy that ticket and go. So it'll be interesting to see whether UK creators notice that over the next kind of 6 months, whether marketing is not such a big spend anymore. Obviously, other costs go up, like, security and health and safety and everything. But marketing seems to, in Australia anyway, have come down a little bit. So we'll keep an eye on that one. We're kind of getting close to time, and I do want to give Sandra a chance to talk us through Boost, which is actually a marketing feature that we've added to our product. So just to kind of close the conversation, I guess we always like to kind of find out from our creators, like, how the pandemic has made you think differently about events. Like, obviously we have the kind of technical aspect where, you've had to actually run your events differently, but at the core of the events, which is kind of, engaging with people and forming that sense of community, like, how has this resonated with you, and how has it made you think differently about the work that you do? I might start with Adam McGrath, please.
Yeah, I think, do you know what? Our eyes have been open to how big our demographic and our target audience actually can be, because we came from such a corporate environment in terms of well-being in the workplace, and that's very much what our events were centered around. The fact that everyone is now at home and going through a lot of the same difficulties at the moment, we've now started to branch into kind of children's mental health, and we did our first event at school actually over the last 2 days, and understanding the stress around their exam times. Equally, there will be people who do all sorts of different jobs, and we were very London centric because we are based in London and we have our events here. And what happens a lot of times is that we forget about the rest of the UK, and that there's still problems going on elsewhere in the rest of the world as well. So the fact that we've been able to go virtual meant that our kind of demographic is branched out globally now, and we can offer our services to people there. Although the live events, like James mentioned, won't be possible for everyone, it means that we can start exploring the opportunity of kind of B2C as opposed to just B2B as well. So the fact that we're so much more flexible in offering has helped us to do that, and that's what we'll continue to kind of pursue.
Amazing. And Natalie, how have events kind of changed for you?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's been a dramatic change, a very positive change, but I think now is the scariest time, because we've known where we are. Like, we had these 3,000 people registering for an event in January, but now where are we?
Yeah.
That's the scary thing. So it's really about, we've been quite comfortable the last sort of 6 to 8 months, but now is the scary bit, because will hybrid events work? We don't know yet. So what we've been doing is we've been doing surveys to our viewers, asking them, will they attend live events? Will they attend virtual events? And interestingly, we've had about the last few surveys we've done, 60% of people said they would continue to watch virtual events. 25% of people said they'd go to live events. Now, obviously, that really depends on your demographic. Again, it could be people who are a bit more nervous or what have you, but it's a scary time now, because we're trying to plan for September, October, November events, hybrid events, but we just don't know. Are we going to be open? But even if we are open, hopefully we'll be open. But let's just say, do people feel comfortable about going back out? Do they prefer online? And I think what we'll have people with a combination. People will like to do a bit of both. I think there'll be people out there who'll be desperate to get out, and other people who think, well, actually, I can't quite make it. I'm tired. It's Thursday. I just want to watch something, whilst I'm having my dinner. So I think we've got to be mindful of keeping both.
Yeah. Okay. And James.
Yeah, I'll definitely echo that. I mean, pre-pandemic, all my work was centered on in-person events, and my whole ethos is about making singing more accessible and more inclusive. So I run like a homeless choir. I run choirs in pubs, just trying to expand the reach of what singing can be, and to bring more people into that space. And now I'm just kicking myself that I hadn't thought about virtual before, because it's not only is it allowing people to engage with singing in my work who might not be able to get to a physical venue for whatever reason, but also there's just that thing that you're at home, it's more comfortable. Actually, that's a really good space if you're inhibited to do something like singing, to actually use it as a starting point, rather than turn up, like Natalie was saying about, some people don't like going into a theatre on their own. If you're walking into a room to sing with people you don't know and you're scared of singing, I mean, that's terrifying. So, I'd really kind of underestimated the potential of online. And so, yeah, going forward, in terms of sofa singers, that is absolutely going to remain online, and then we'll start to complement that with in-person events as well. Yeah.
Amazing.
Can I add something else in, Amy, actually, if you don't mind? Sorry, I know it's short.
No, you're fine.
So I also, another side of me, I hope you don't mind me mentioning, but outside of my APL work, I also work for my synagogue. Mm-hmm. So and I know we have some religious people, religion organisation watching today as well. So obviously that's a massive thing with virtual events, because of course we've moved all of our events and things like that, services and all sorts of things online, which has been a massive comfort to people, huge comfort. But I think in terms of events within religious organisations moving forward, we have got to keep it. We've got to keep the virtual events in. Sure, it's really important. It's brought so many people that could not have got to their church or temple or synagogue or mosque or wherever it is to get together, and that's massive. So I think, you know, moving events in terms of religious organisations, keeping that virtual side has got to continue for sure.
That's a great point. Thanks, Natalie. We are a little bit kind of close on time, and I'm conscious that people probably have meetings and stuff at 10. So I'm going to leave it there. But I suppose the kind of key takeaway really is that there are very few silver linings from the pandemic, but it seems that actually virtual events might be one of them. So, you know, being able to create a hybrid model in the future, I think is definitely a goal for most creators. And I think that, you know, it allows the accessibility and the kind of inclusion that virtual events have created in the last 15 months. So thank you, all three of you, for being here today and really for running your events and continuing to run them through what has been a really difficult time. I know that all your attendees are so grateful as well. So thank you so much. I'm going to kick it over to Sandra now to talk to us a little bit about some COVID resources and maybe just boost, actually, Sandra, at this stage, if we're kind of short on time, because I think that's something that's going to be relevant to everyone today. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so yeah, I'm just going to give an overview of a brand new feature that we're offering to event creators. So what it does is you can now put your event in front of more people with the launch of this new Eventbrite Booth feature. So you can think of it as an all-in-one event marketing platform, and it's built specifically for events, and it also saves you time because it lets you manage all of your event promotion and ticket sales in one place. So it's a first in how we're bringing our existing marketing solutions together all in one place. So you might invest in and utilize a fragmented set of tools to reach and engage your audience. And that will be from organic social posting to email marketing, paid advertising, and audience engagement. So what we're doing is we're aiming to provide one holistic answer to your event marketing challenges. So I just want to take a closer look at this and where you'll find it. So you'll find this new feature, it's titled Marketing, in the top navigation bar. So you may have previously seen that we had an email campaigns option up there, and you'll see that this has replaced it. So this is going to lead you to a landing page that's going to provide you with an introduction to the new marketing platform. And as I mentioned, that's going to serve as a hub for the different marketing tool destinations. And we're currently bringing together 4 key tools for every event marketer. And just to note as well that all of our paid plans come with a 14-day free trial for all creators trying Boost out for the first time. And there's different packages available depending on your needs. So just to see the pricing and to see what one's best suit your needs, you can just go to this section here and click on the advertise on Facebook and Instagram, or grow your Instagram following ones, and from there you'll be able to see the pricing. So I'm just going to quickly go through each of these 4 tools. So we'll start with Facebook. Some of you may be very familiar with this already, but I'll go through it for those who are not. So your Add to Facebook feature can now be found and accessed from this marketing section. So in partnership with Facebook, we built and launched a simple and effective way for event creators to publish their event inside of Facebook with just a few clicks. So it's a no-brainer for any creator to increase awareness of their events, and it's also a free feature. So you can distribute your free and paid tickets through the embedded checkout flow inside of Facebook. So this makes it twice as easy to convert Facebook users into event attendees. And in addition to making some critical and long-awaited fixes to the experience, the Add to Facebook does come with a number of new improvements that make the feature friendly and accessible at the organization level. So first is the event select to publish flow. So creators that have events created on Eventbrite are going to quickly see which events they can select to start the setup before publishing to Facebook. And then there's also the active events dashboard. So that shows a list of all the live events that the creator has on Facebook, and creators are going to be able to filter the event they're looking for and quickly access the main actions. Go to Facebook, edit, remove, things like that. Now let's talk about our email campaigns tool. Sending emails is a necessary part of successful event marketing. So emails are used to raise awareness, increase repeat attendance, and drive revenue. So in Eventbrite, we've provided email marketing tools to help your creators engage with their audience easily. So you can use our inbuilt email campaigns to invite your database to your new and upcoming events. And I mean, when you think about it, creators often see the most success in converting previous event attendees to their new events, as they're already familiar with your brand and your experience. And they're also the best advocates to spread the word about your upcoming events. So with this email campaigns, you can easily customize emails for your events within Eventbrite. You can promote one, all, or a selection of your events in your email. And there's an easy to use checkboxes, so you can include or remove all the relevant events you want, and they'll feature in your email campaign. And attendees can also opt in to hear from you within their check-in flow. They'll also automatically be added to a purchaser list for you to communicate to in the future. And just a note on this, you can send up to 2,000 people an email each day using this tool. Then when it comes to finding new audiences and driving registrations with revenue, paid social ads can be incredibly effective. So our paid social ads features provide creators with the easiest way to create successful social ad campaigns, and they sell tickets and drive attendance with less work. So the social ads integration is powered by ToneDen, and it's been transformed into a much more seamless experience to run successful advertising campaigns. So that's across Facebook and Instagram inside of Boost. So some of the key new features as part of the social ad offering are streamlined authentication. So we've eliminated the need to register for a new account when accessing social ads. And this reduces the barrier of entry for any creator to get started with a campaign. So over 4,000 new creators each month are automatically authenticated to start launching campaigns. There's also the embedded interface with the user experience. So we have a brand new interface embedded within Eventbrite for creators accessing this feature. And it's simplifying how anyone can start in a new campaign and access their existing campaigns as well. And we have seen a 3.5 increase in new creators launching new campaigns for their first time as a result. There's also sales curves. So we've invented a way for creators to understand how their events attract attendees across their event marketing lifecycle, and provided a way for them to run a campaign based on demand. And then lastly, there's campaign recommendations and personalization. So we've created a new system to better understand creators entering Boost and using this recommended to the right kinds of campaigns to use for them. And then lastly, Instagram is a vital part of any brand's marketing strategy. With over 1 billion active monthly users, Instagram provides an amazing channel for event creators to build and connect with an audience. So this Instagram growth feature is a new addition to our set of marketing offerings. And launching your first Instagram growth campaign will find real Instagram followers who are loyal to you and your brand. It will create Instagram story ads and move interested fans directly to your profile. You can grow your following and get more likes, comments, views, and reshares. And it also maximizes social engagement and increased profile discovery. And it's just as a reminder as well, that we do have this marketing overview section as well. So when you publish your event, you're taken to the marketing overview, and that provides helpful tips and tricks. It tracks your stats of your marketing tool use, and you can find that page under the marketing tab in the left navigation bar when you click on the marketing overview. Excuse me. So that's just a very quick run through. So I know that's a lot of information, so don't worry, there will be a lot more information in the follow-up email on this, so you can delve a bit deeper into all of those points. Thanks.
Thanks so much to everyone for joining, and we'll see you at the next one. Take care.